Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today we are converting this mother-daughter journal into Discbound. So I actually love having everything discbound, as I'm sure you are aware if you've been on my channel for a while. I basically do everything as discbound. Like if you give it to me, I will probably try to make it discbound in some way. Of course, a lot of my discbound supplies are Happy Planner, but in case you didn't know, I actually even before the Happy Planner was a discbound girl. I used the tool system. I have a Martha Stewart, one of her Martha Stewart Office line from way back in the day, like before there was a Happy Planner Classic, there was half letter sizes, junior sizes in Martha Stewart world. So I just absolutely love discbound. I normally, well, before the Happy Planner, I was using it as a notebook. And so this is taking me back to my notebook days. This is essentially a journal. It is a cute little book that I purchased for me and Sophia to kind of just work back and forth between us to take notes and just kind of like chat about life in writing. And so I flipped through this in a video on my channel, and so I will link that video for you to watch if you're interested in seeing like the full flip through. But today it's all about conversion day. So this is going to be my project. I've got my actual book that I'm converting. You can do this with pretty much any book. The things that you will need are, in terms of converting it to discbound, are going to be covers and discs, of course. You'll need the book that you're using, of course. And then really the only other things that you'll need are going to be something to cut with, at least with my method. I'm going to be using the paper trimmer. So you'll see this here, but if you don't have a paper trimmer, you can absolutely use a pair of scissors. I just feel like it might be a little less straight when you lay it or like punch it for discs, but definitely a paper trimmer will keep you at the correct size for the entire project. Or you could just even use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. I didn't bring a box cutter, but you can definitely use a box cutter and use a measuring mat and just lay it down. Use a ruler and just trim it at the same like width. I'm not making sense today, but like keep the measurements the same. But like I said, I'm going to be using the paper trimmer, so I'm just going to put these up. I do have my ruler here. I meant to show you that, but like use a box cutter with the ruler to be able to keep the same measurements. But again, I'm going to be using my paper trimmer, and to me, the only other thing you need is a punch. So I am going to be using my arc punch. The arc punch has a shorter stem, like for the mushroom, the disc part of it. Let me show you on the cover. So on this cover, you can see the stem here is a little bit shorter than the Happy Planner. The Happy Planner is about like a quarter of an inch longer. And so I like this punch a little bit more for the reason that I don't want to cut into the text as much. And so we're going to get started then. I think this will be pretty straightforward. I don't know how long it will take, but I might speed through some of it just in case it gets a little bit repetitive. But the way that I do it is taking a look at what's in here. I want to be able to break down the spine, okay? And so the way that I do this is really, I just rip the pages, okay? I know there are other ways of doing it to like remove the glue, things like that. But what I do is I pretty much just rip the pages off. Well, actually, I start with the cover. So I'll take the cover off, all right? And that does remove some of the glue just on the very first pass. There's normally like a cover sheet here attached, so I'm gonna get rid of the cover sheet as well. Like that's like part of the cover. It's not part of the binding for the book, right? So that is there. It normally has a front one too, but this one only had the back one. So now I have my cover, okay? And so I've seen some other people convert, and they just pick a width and they just use a box cutter and just cut. And I just try to preserve as much of the text as possible, and so I'll cut as close to the line as possible. And so at this point, what I do is I just go through and I just rip off, a page or two at a time. Now I want to be very careful when I'm doing this that like it's still tearing off like the ending. I don't know what this is called, you guys. Like it's the gum that holds the binding together. It's the part where they glue it to the spine, right? So it's the spine glue or gum or whatever they use. I'm not a bookbinder, so I have no idea. So you just have to be careful with especially like the front and the back pages, just because of the way that they fold books together. But then once you get into it, you can tear off like really several pages at a time. And you want to make sure that you're going in and, you know, just separating the pages. That's, to me, one of the most important things is making sure you separate the pages. So definitely, if you want to, tear one page at a time. But I just like to do several, but I can do one at a time too. Right? Just tear it one at a time. And what you end up leaving behind is like the gum, right? Like it's going to end up being like just like a hard piece of like plastic. That's the glued out gum, if that makes sense, right? And after time, especially as you get into the middle, you want to make sure that the gum is low enough that you're not ripping into the page, or you know, somehow the gum is like messing up your rip here. So just be aware of, you know, of this edge as you're ripping. All right, so I'm just gonna keep going. And I will fast forward to this part because, you know, this is pretty much me just ripping it off, and we'll just come back at the end. Okay, I have to pause here because look, I did exactly what I told you not to do, right? Be aware of this gum edge because I was not, and I ripped into it. And then I was not down here when I was trying to rip it from the bottom, and I ripped into it again. So yeah, for sure, be very careful here. The first few pages, you can definitely like be a little bit, you know, just rip it right off and it's totally fine. But look, you know, I've ruined it. It's not ruined. I will still use it, but you know, it's definitely missing a piece, right? So once you get towards the middle, now is the time where you want to try to remove this as much of the gum, the hard piece as possible. Now, if you don't do this, then you will run the risk of like this piece snagging on the remaining pages. So I definitely tried to remove it, and I tried to remove that little piece that I left behind, right? The paper that did not go where it belonged. my little remnant, right? But I definitely want to clean up this gum edge because since it's torn once, you know, once it tears once, you know, it knows what it's supposed to do. So I gotta get rid of this, right? So I'm just using my fingers. I'm just beating it down and ripping it off with my fingers. You can definitely use like a pair of scissors or something like that to cut it. But I just like to fiddle with my hands and just do it like that, right? So now it kind of looks like the beginning of the book again, and so I can go back to being not quite so deliberate and just tearing multiple pages at one time, right? And again, I think it's important to separate them. I haven't done that really well, but definitely try to separate them as you go along, right? So let's get back to speed through version. Okay, I'm towards the end now, and so we're at the point where I can, again, just tear off these pieces, where it's maybe easier to tear the gum off of the page instead of tearing the page off the gum, if that makes sense. So we're going to clean it up a little bit more here. These last pages are, to me, the most difficult ones to separate because, you know, the gum doesn't want to release, you know, it wants to stay connected to its book, doing its job. So it just requires, you know, just careful ripping of the pages. All right, so let me get this one little piece. But really, it's a big piece. It's not a little piece. All right. I'm going to go a page at a time. Very gentle. I think. Hopefully. Alright, I'm noticing before I even tear this one that there's a little bit of extra glue right here, so I know for sure I need to be careful right there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's definitely like a glue spillage onto the page, so I want to be careful right around that section. Okay. Alright, and again, like the glue does not like to separate from its job of, like, you know, holding this stuff together. So, you know, we're going to clean it up a little bit, but there's going to be like little pieces left, right? And again, I don't know if this is clear, but you can see like the gum or the glue leaked into the bottom pages. So you have to be really careful with these last couple of pages to not rip. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to rip at least one, just because, you know, that's the nature of like converting it. But I want to try not to. Okay. Now I'm really concerned about these because it's like a pretty thick edge still. And so I'm going to go through now. I'm going to leave that attached. I'm going to go through now and try to decide. I feel like these are pretty close to the edge, right? So I want to conserve as much as possible. So I am going to cut as close as possible to the edge. I was trying to see how much leeway I had, but I'm going to stay as close as possible to the edge, right? There's not really a lot of like extra margin there, all right? So I'm going to leave my cover over here at the very top of the screen. And so we'll come in here and I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to take this whole thing and flip it upside down, just so that way I can clean up this edge. Okay, and so let me get on screen. I'm going to be as close as possible. My paper trimmer has this line. You can see this like little, it's like a little metallic guide. And so I'm going to use that guide to lay it as close as possible to this glue edge without being on the glue edge. I know in some cases that's not going to be possible. You know, I'm going to catch some of the glue, but I want to not, if at all possible. All right, so I'm going to be right here. All right, and so in terms of measurements, this is 1, 2, like it's like 1 tick mark off of 5.5, right? So we're just going to be right there. Oh no, that did not work. The glue caught it immediately. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go from the middle. No, that's not going to work. The glue is super thick here. All right, let me cut it down with a pair of scissors first. This is the last pages that still had the gum edge, okay? So I'm cutting that off, and now we're going to try again. I'm still going to use the same tick mark here, so we're going to go right here. Oh no, that's not right. This tick mark here. 1 tick mark before the 5.5. All right, and now we're going to cut. All right, this is not super clean right here. It got torn a little bit, but I think overall okay. All right, and in order to keep the pages together, I'm going to flip it and stick them up here. Okay, and now we'll speed through this part. I might use my scissors to trim some of the glue off if I need to, but we're just going to use the same little tick mark to cut off all of my pages to the same size. All right, so come back at the end. This page is so sad, you guys. I only did a single page. That did not work. Back to speeding through. Okay, that definitely was not perfect. I'm also realizing I forgot to cut the cover, but I will do the cover separately just because I already put up my paper trimmer. Oh my gosh, you guys. But let me clean up this section. There's a lot of trash on my desk now. And so I did get the pages done. That was definitely not perfect, but for the most part, it's 80%, right? there's some raggedness, I think you can see here, but I'll still punch it. Okay, so we're going to take our punch now. This arc punch does have a junior size, but here's the deal. This is not exactly junior size, right? I said it was 8 1/4 and not 8 1/2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so it's a little bit shorter, like 1/4 of an inch shorter than 8 1/2. So I'm going to measure, right? And so the way I did it was just use 8 of the discs, and then 8 of the discs, and then I just kind of eyeballed that the edges were kind of about the same distance from the 9th and the 10th punch. And then I moved my guide here for the arc punch into place. So that's how I did that, right? And then one of the big things for punching is I cut, when I use my paper trimmer, I cut with like several pages at a time. When I punch, I try to use a different set, right? So that way I'm not basically punching the same set of pages that I trimmed, right? So if you mix it up a little bit, it will at least stay punched together, even if there's some unevenness with the cut. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So I'm gonna try to punch. One of the biggest things for me is making sure that I am all the way in there, because sometimes I am not. All right, and then we're gonna punch. All right, and that's what it looks like. So again, speeding through this portion to get this done. Okay, yay! I'm so excited. Okay, and then taking a look at where the punches are, at least for some of these pages, it looks pretty good. I didn't cut into any text for some of these, or any of these, right? So I'm excited. Again, I still have the cover to trim and punch, but 98% of it is done, right? And I've got discs and a cover. So I didn't even explain this earlier, but I did find a set of covers from my stash. This actually was, I think, an old set of covers that my sister gave to me. And yeah, it's from Tool, T-U-L. Again, I use a Tool planner now for my daily pages, and before Happy Planner I was using other non-Happy Planner Discbound, including Tool, including Martha Stewart. So yeah, we've been a Discbound family for forever, right? And then I did get some Happy Planner discs. These are plastic black, just standard discs. This cover is like super thick and deluxe, this plastic piece is, and so I'm going to do it one at a time. Instead of trying to pop it on both of them. And I do try to at least lift up one edge of the cover, so that way I'm not squeezing the disc in. So I just lift it and slide the disc right in. That's how I do it for these kind of deluxe covers from Tool. You can do this with other deluxe covers as well, as to lift one of the edges. I feel like that's a safer bet than trying to just slide the covers on. And again, I do it for the back. I just lined up the two covers, and I'm just reaching back there and lifting up that one edge and sliding the disc on. All right, so again, instead of forcing the discs on there, I just slide the disc right on, because I gave myself that a little bit of a gap. All right, so now that is done. This cover is so used and stained, but it's still super cute. It's hard pockets and everything. This is a super old cover that I just found in my stash. All right, and again, I do have the cover. I will convert that later, but we're just gonna pop all of these pages. I tried to pop the first page on there. All right, we're gonna get all of these pages on here and see what it looks like. I'm so excited about this, right? I mentioned when I flipped through the through the book, the journal, that the pages did not lie flat in the book bound form. It was just super tight. And so being able to convert it to Discbound, this is amazing. And I'm using classic discs. I probably should have found mini discs, but I'm okay also going into my stash. I have a ton of A5 and half letter size supplies, so I can add more paper and just, make it a fun little journal for me and Sophia. And so this is what it looks like. And again, I have a flip through, a super quick flip through of what the book looks like, but it is flipping super well. I think all the pages separated as I was trimming, but there might be a couple that are stuck normally in the front and the back. This is the page that ripped. You can see here And so it looks okay. This is the other page that ripped, and then a little bit later, right, same little section, there was some wonkiness in terms of the edges, but I think all of that's kind of covered by the fact that it's discbound, right? So I will go through and separate the pages if there are any that are stuck together, but now it's set up and it's so cute. We can add a pin. I can let her decorate the cover with some of her vinyl stickers. We're gonna have fun with it. So yes, fun little DIY, really just for me and Sophia to journal with each other and enjoy. So I hope you enjoyed this conversion. Even if you don't purchase this particular planner, you can absolutely do this with other book-bound notebooks, journals, things that you might have that you want to convert to discbound. This is the process that I engage in. It's a little bit messy, but you know, this is how I do it, and I find it super relaxing and super fun, and you know, just really nice to be able to get it to discbound. And I know I sped through a lot of the video, but this was 30 minutes of my time, and now it's in the form that I want it to be in. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video, bye guys.